Okay, guys, I'm picking up Barbara, going to Fort Worth. Man, I picked up another Barbara last week and things didn't go that well. I had to put old Barbara out my car. Just being too disrespectful. She had to go. And she started out with a great conversation. And then something went left. And I had to put an old lady out my car. Old white lady. Well, she wasn't that old, but she was in her mid-60s. I know that. But it is what it is. We don't tolerate disrespect. Don't do it. You get in my car, you must be respectful. No matter what the topic is, we must respect each other's opinions and pretty much move on. You know what I'm saying? You know, guys, I'm gonna start talking about the election, getting people's ideas about who they're gonna vote for. I know it gets kind of personal, but a lot of people don't like talking about politics. But I don't mind because it doesn't bother me. I'm not that programmed to it, so we gonna see what kind of attitude Barbara has. It is a 40-minute ride too. It's gonna be a long ride. That might be due to traffic, so we'll see. This is my first ride of the night. It is 8:11. So I might end up doing 4 or 5 rides tonight. Just depends on how quickly I get back to the queue and how quickly I get a ride. You know what I'm saying? So let's get to it. I'm about to pull up on her. There she is, right there. This is her. Excellent.
That's good.
How's your flight?
It was good. Actually ran on time and everything.
What? Was it American?
Uh-huh.
Well, that's America in itself.
Well, let me tell you, going out, it was showing to be on time.
Uh-huh.
You know, the night before, the early morning of.
Yeah.
And when I got an Uber to head out this way, I look again and it's delayed like, what was it? 5 hours.
Oh, wow. Man, so you've been doing a lot of traveling, huh?
Yeah, usually. I haven't traveled, a good bit in a while. I don't travel as much anymore, but
yeah,
I just went out Monday, came back today.
Okay.
So, anyway.
Hey, work travel or just like,
This was just pleasure.
Oh, pleasure,
just
okay.
Meeting some friends that I actually knew over the years from work.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, we're all retired now, so.
Yeah. What you retire of?
Well, this is from the college bookstore industry.
Okay.
In sales.
Yeah.
Selling them all their
Yeah.
paraphernalia.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was fun. What about you? What kind of week you had so far?
It's been pretty cool.
Yeah, well, that's
I had another barber last week that I picked up.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, it kind of, you know, I'm a history buff. So, you know, like I study a lot of like land records, military records, census records, National Archives, vital statistics, Smithsonian records, anthropology, and I do genealogy.
Oh, okay.
And I've been doing it for over 20 years. And, you know, I was talking to this, you know, one of my passengers, and we started talking about history, and I was asking her about where her family, you know, immigrated from or whatever. I said, were they Scottish or Irish? She said, you know what, they were Scottish. She said, me and my family, my sister and brother, we were just talking about this not too long ago. It's crazy that you bring it up. And I said, okay. And, you know, and she said, you know, our community were, you know, Scottish American, Irish American. And she said, well, some like African Americans. I said, well, African Americans not African. And she got mad.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. And I was like, where'd that come from?
Did not say wrong.
I know. I said, okay.
That's pretty good.
And she said, either I don't want to talk for the rest of the ride, or you could drop me off.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, is it that serious? I was like, now we're both intelligent people. Why, you know, like, why go to that measure? I was like, okay.
Yeah, that's a little extreme.
I know. I was like, what did that come from?
You don't have to worry about this barber. We're not getting that same kind of reaction.
I was like, okay.
Yeah, I guess you never know, huh?
Yeah, you never know. That's, you know what, Barbara, after I done gave over like 10,000 rides. And that's the first time I've had anybody react like that.
Yeah, wow.
Usually they're curious. You know, they ask questions or whatever. And she was just she was just hot. She was, yeah.
She'd had a bad day.
I don't know, because she was, you know, very, you know, like when we first started talking, she was very, you know, calm and laughing and talking, and it wasn't, you know, I was like, okay.
Yeah, that's kind of strange, though.
Yeah, I was like, all right. I've talked to Native Americans and got them, you know, straight, because, you know, this guy, he was upset because I was wearing a Cleveland Indian hat.
Oh, good heavens.
And he said my hat offended him. And I said, really? I said, why? Oh, because I'm Navajo Indian. I said, well, how did you become an Indian? I mean, logical questions. I mean, you know, like, well, how did you become an Indian? I'm going to go out north and then come back, because you can't even get out this way.
Oh, my Lord. There's something going on down there.
It's the traffic that's going into the Uber lot. When it backs up traffic.
That's a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah, so how did he say he became, was it a he?
Yeah.
He became an Indian?
Yeah, it was a he, you know. And I asked him, I said, well, do you know what the term Indian means? He goes, yeah, it means Native American. I said, no, that's not what it means.
Indigenous.
And he said, well, I said, the term native didn't become popular until the 70s, because it was the third largest political party in the United States, called the Native American Party. It started from an organization called the Know Nothings in the 1800s. And he said, well, I thought it was because Christopher Columbus thought he was in India. That's why he named us Indian. I was like, no. I said, India didn't become India until 1947. And he's like, really? I said, yeah. I said, and Christopher Columbus, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, sir, but Christopher Columbus never existed. He was a made-up character. He's like, what? I said, that's why they named him Christopher, after Christ. It was about the doctrine of discovery. And he was like, I did not know that. I said, the term Indian derives from the word indigo, which means dark of hue. It means dark skin. That's where Indian came from. And he said, huh. I said, now, you grew up on a reservation? He goes, yeah. I said, I don't know if you know what a reservation is. And he goes, what do you mean? It was for the placement of Indians. I said, no, it wasn't. It was actually for the placement, for the position for non-Americans. And he goes, non-Americans? I'm like, yeah. He said, well, I don't believe that. I said, well, pull out your phone and look it up. Google it. So he pulls out his phone, he Google it, he looks it up, and he's looking at it. I said, so what it say?
Yeah.
It says the placement for the position for non-Americans. I said, so if it says non-Americans, how did you become an Indian?
Yeah, there you go.
And he's like, and this guy's in his 40s, like mid 40s, late 40s.
Yeah. And
he's like, Gary, I said, listen, okay, a lot of people paid money to be listed as Indians on the United States Dog Roads Commission in the late 1800s to get benefits from the land.
Right.
That's what happened. So it was against the law to call yourself an Indian if you were colored or Negro. He said, Gary, I did not know that. I said, yeah, all Indians that live off the reservation were reclassified to Negroes. It's in the Library of Congress.
Yeah.
And he said, I said, my grandparents were Aboriginal people. They were, my grandmother was Anna Cherokee, and my grandfather was Creek and Choctaw. And they own a plantation in East Texas that we still own today. And he was like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, dude. I'm like, listen, African Americans were reclassified. That term was only created in 1988.
Yeah, that was
It was a later term. And he was like, I said, it went from Indian to colored to Negro to black to African American. And he was like, he said, Gary, I said, y'all don't understand. This is the ancient land, not Africa.
right.
This is the old land. I said, you ever think about why everybody around the world follows American culture? Because this is the source. They just don't teach y'all this stuff. And he was like, then when I start showing them pictures and videos, he was like, wow. And then I taught him the history behind the Cleveland Indians.
Yeah.
And the Cleveland Indians originated from a baseball team in Alabama.
Yeah.
Called the Birmingham N-words. That's where it came from.
Right?
A long time ago, the crayon color brown used to be called Indian red. They changed it.
Yeah.
That's why they used to call so-called black people colored.
Yeah.
It came from the word copper colored. They just dropped the copper part. That's where they came from, because copper is a tone of reddish brown, which goes from light brown to dark brown.
Right.
Hence the term redskin. That's where they came from. One of the oldest black communities in the United States is called Pocahontas Island.
Where is that?
It's in Virginia. Her people were reclassified to color around 1924 during the Racial Integrity Act by Walter Pleasure. And they just kind of spread all over the country. Because our people, African Americans, didn't start calling themselves black until around the mid 60s, around 1964.
Yeah.
It was an insult to call yourself black back then. I've never heard my grandmother say black or call somebody black. Or talk.
What she said? What does she say?
I never heard them talk like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't even part of their vocabulary. My dad, he's 84, and I asked him, I said, when did you start hearing about like Africa or whatever? He said, I didn't start hearing about Africa till the 80s.
Yeah.
And he was like, I said, your parents never told you like if they came from Africa or whatever? He's like, no. He said, Mama, they never talked about no African stuff. They always talked about being Indian. And like that African stuff just kind of popped up in the 80s.
Yeah.
But we didn't know nothing about Africa.
So, are you originally from Texas?
Yeah.
Texas?
Yes, ma'am.
Where were you born in Texas?
Here.
Here in Fort Worth?
In Dallas.
Dallas?
Yeah. My family been here since 1830s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So,
Before this area even got settled, you know, the Comanche had a stronghold. Like that was part of, like the DFW airport, that was part of Comanche territory. I have a picture of them signing the Birds Fort Treaty in 1846. The Comanche, the Apache, the Tawakoni, the Caddo, the Waco. Waco was a tribe too. Yeah. You remember James Brown?
Yeah.
James Brown was Apache Indian. Yeah. He full-blooded Apache Indian.
Yeah.
Like Michael Jackson, his bloodline was Blackfoot and Choctaw. I mean,
So what got you studying history?
my family.
Yeah. Just
Looking up my family history. Yeah, my grandmother, looking up their history, because I wanted to know how did they get all that land.
Yeah.
You know, we own about it's about 800, close to 900 acres.
Wow.
It's been in my family for over 100 years.
Is it in this area?
It's in East Texas.
In East Texas?
Yes, ma'am.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. I started, you know, studying the land records and putting
They
up.
still live on the land?
Yeah, we still.
Live on the land?
Yeah, we still on the land. They've been trying to. We're the largest landowners in that county.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
We're not making any more of that, you know.
No.
Owning lands.
Well, you know, here. I mean, Texas is huge, though. There's
Yeah.
still a lot of land that's undeveloped here.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's why so many people moving here. You know, I mean, Texas is. I mean, it's basically its own country, basically.
Yeah, you know, Texas. There's always talk about seceding
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. I mean, they're on their own energy grid, electric grid. I mean, they pretty much.